Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Ha ha ha! How's everybody doing tonight? I got to get through my first 30 seconds. There's big doings brewing, and it's always calm before the storm. We had a hearing today with our with Mr. T. I mean Friday with Mr. T, where he got where he doesn't have to be quiet. But of course, the judge is saying he's got to be very careful. There's boundaries on his speech. But the bottom line is he won that. He won that hands down. Hi, Wanda. Hi, Rubber Toe. Hi, Nikki B. And the media had been pumping that up. And they're acting now like, oh, the judge is being tough. The judge is really handing down some strict rules. But the bottom line was they thought they were going to get that gag order, quote, quote, however they want to word it. They thought they were going to get that Monday. It got postponed to the end of the week, and the final word is no gag order. But a lot of stuff's come out about that judge we're going to talk about. And a lot of it you may have heard, some of it you may not have heard. But what I've got in the thumbnail is the obvious. What we're seeing now is being put up even on CNN is the obvious. And it's amazing how, I guess with decades of training and expertise, that they can take the obvious and still pull the wool over people's eyes. Memes are flying. I'm going to make copies of them and do them on my next picture show. But you got people putting up all the scenes from the Summer of Love, all the scenes from when they went crazy at the Capitol over Kavanaugh. They were in the tunnels under the Capitol, which were off limits, going in elevators the senators use, screaming and yelling over Kavanaugh, and dressing up like Handmaid's Tale and up in the gallery and disrupting the proceedings. Nothing ever became of that. The media didn't say a word about that. And there's other instances that happened at the Capitol, which I'll go over with you. A BOMB was let off. Yeah, not a lot of people know that, because one of the biggest powers the media has is the power to ignore. Well, I might as well go ahead and let me see if I can pull that up. And again, when I do a picture show, I post some stuff on my community page, and I think I'll do that on Truth Social and on my community page. But how about this story? Have you all ever heard about this? It happened. I got the pictures I'm looking at. This is Susan Rosenberg and Linda Sue Evans, two left-wing activists who on November 7th, 1983, placed a BOMB in the U.S. Capitol. Do you all remember that? (1983) was Ronaldo Magnus was president. Ronald Reagan. It tore through the second floor Senate wing. It was an attempt to assassinate Republican senators. I'm just wondering if anybody in the chats remembers that. It's never been mentioned in recent history. I don't recall it being mentioned in the last 20 years ever, that there was actually a BOMB that went off in the Senate by two left-wing activists. I'll finish reading that in a second. I want to see you all's in here. Ray Butters, how are you doing? If I missed anybody, forgive me. Colleen, how are you doing? Let's see. Wow. Wanda, let's see. Where Lucy, how are you doing? Miss Mendersu, Diane. Whoops, haha. Rubber Toe says hello, everyone. I left my finger on there and it went on the screen. Rubber Toe says hi to everybody. Wow, my chats are jumping around. I hope I'm coming in clear. They're jumping around. There's Ray Butters. That's where I was at when it jumped right before my eyes. But anyway, so I do have a hi, Mary. How are you? If my chats are jumping, if I miss anybody, forgive me. Wow. Whoa, now they disappeared. Hi, Chris. How are you? Jamie. Okay. Hi, Ronald. How are you doing? Nikki says I'm 5x5. Good. All right. Well, these characters set that device off, and it blew through the floor. On his last day in office, Bill Clinton commuted their 58 and 40-year sentences at the request of New York Democrat Jerry Nadler. Have you ever heard of that? That Jerry Nadler? How long ago was that? 40 years. 40 years ago. So Jerry Nadler asked Bill Clinton to let him off the hook when Bill Clinton was president, and he did. The first domestic terrorist attack against our capital and democracy was by left-wing activists, not by Trump supporters, on January 6, 2021, as the mainstream media and Democrats are trying to make you believe. It was also Democrats who forgave them for their crime. Now, ain't that something? Hi, Cindy. No, it wasn't Obama, it was Clinton. At the request of Jerry Nadler. Hi, Gary. Ha ha. Let's see. Outlandish, how are you doing? So, not a lot of people remember that. I'll post that on, let's see, I'll put that on my community page so you all can get a copy of that. Oh, they're shifty. They are shifty. And there's a lot of stuff people have been putting on Truth. And, there's a joke going around, and I'll see if you all know the punchline. What is Biden like about 25-year-olds? That's the joke. Well, I don't know if it's a joke. What's he like best about him? 25-year-olds. That there's 20 of them. I know it's corny, but hey, gotta have a little levity, a little bit of levity. Heaven has strict immigration laws, but hell has open borders. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I'm just looking through some stuff I copied. I thought was pretty cool. Now, I know a lot of you watched that Capitol Police Chief that was interviewed by Tucker. I watched some of it on Nikki's earlier today. If you all want to see that, Nikki broadcast it. It was put up. I don't know. I watched it last night, but I fell asleep. But then again, Nikki went ahead and reposted it. I got to watch the rest of it. But boy, didn't he put out a lot of good stuff. And there's some interesting things he said. The devil's always in the details. That's right, Cindy. You got it. Yeah. Well, that's what somebody put a meme up. I couldn't put that on my community page. Maybe I can. I don't know. I don't want to get in too much trouble. But anyway, Kash Patel put out. So what I've been saying for 5 years plus, in my then role as chief of staff at DOD and first guy subpoenaed by J6 committee, maybe Tucker should interview me. What do you think? Yeah. Be interesting to see what Kash Patel has to say. But, I was going to put 2 words in my thumbnail, malicious and vicious. Because Mr. T said the people that he's dealing with, the opponents, and we know the people at the top of the strings of the puppet show are vicious people. But some, I'm not going to do a blanket statement, but some of the supporters are downright malicious. Like putting out memes and smart aleck comments of justification for what happened to that man who got his home raided. And Craig Robertson, we talked about him last night. And I just can't see any circumstance where anybody would find that humorous, or a reasonable person would say that the methods they used in Provo, Utah was reasonable as a way to effect an arrest of a person that age, living alone, much less find it funny. So we have to understand that we're dealing with people that no matter what we show them, they're always going to have malice. What did Lincoln say at his second inaugural address? That the country would proceed forward with malice toward none. Well, I don't know. For a certain number of the population, we have to recognize that they're going to have malicious hearts. And as long as they don't have God in their hearts and God in their lives, they're going to have that maliciousness in them. And we're counseled to avoid them, not fight them, not combat them, not argue with them. That's why I don't put comments. I just discuss some of these things that the opposition posts. I know some of it is paid. I know some of it is prepaid narratives. That's already been shown to us that's what happens. They get offered money to put forth in their videos narratives that are very well crafted and prepared. Hi, Annette. How are you? Lone Wolf, how you doing? Camperman. Ha ha. Hi, Marla. Thank you for sponsoring the show last night, Marla. I appreciate that. That'd buy me a coffee. Ha ha. So, I'm going to do a little clip of a video from the Department of Defense. It's just a short thing, but it's a reminder that in my pontificating in the past, I have said that if Mr. T didn't do it the way he did it, that there would have been strife and civil war, civil unrest. And the other thing I didn't bring up that I brought up well over a year ago, multiple times, is the threat of the N-word, as Mr. T has been wont to say. The N-word. Hi, Tubla. That's nuclear. And most of you know in the chats, and maybe there'll be people that tune in that don't know. Mr. Trump did an interview years ago where he talked about his uncle, who was business partners and very good friends with Nikola Tesla. And he said he never forgot what his uncle told him, that the technology would be around the corner, if it didn't already exist, to miniaturize a nuclear weapon. And that was what had frightened his uncle the most. Somebody could design something portable. And I didn't bring it up in my reasoning as to why we are so fortunate to have a patient and a patient leadership and as competent military intelligence as we do have to try to block them at all corners of everything they try. But there's no doubt, even without a suitcase dirty bomb situation, even without that, if we'd have gone to the mattresses, if we'd have thrown down, started doing the rest, bottom line, half, if not more of them would have got away, and this country would have been in upheaval for years. So then when you factor it in, the miniaturization of a nuclear weapon, as Tesla had pointed out, then it's even more of a reason to not be upset that things aren't happening at the pace we want, but to have relief that we don't have people whose egos push them forward, or anger pushes them forward, or their distress at knowing what kind of evil is happening in this world right now, to do something rash too soon. It takes a lot of discipline, a lot of patience, and a lot of strategizing. And, you know, a lot of people don't have that ability. There's all kinds of stories in that. Didn't Mr. T get the uncle's trunk of those plans? You know, people make videos, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I could sit around and close my eyes and think about what the possibilities could be. But I go with what Mr. T says. He didn't say it for nothing. Like they say in the mafia shows, not for nothing. I got to tell you something, and it's not for nothing. And Trump didn't say it for nothing. Was that that capability either existed or was right around the corner. So keep that in mind. And the other thing I want everybody to keep in mind, I almost put it on one of my thumbnails last week, was, believe it or not, never forget toilet paper. What? What are you talking about? Just remember how people treated each other when they thought they might run out of toilet paper. How nasty, how vicious, how selfish people became over that. I don't know what started that. How a flu-like, nasty flu-like, what's that got to do with toilet paper? But anyway, you saw what happened. Fights in the supermarket. People with closets full of toilet paper, and their neighbors be damned. So you see something there of human nature, of a certain amount or certain type of the population. And yeah, Imagine if we were going through that after J6 unnecessarily with all the other things that I mentioned. But if it wasn't, if people were afraid of losing toilet paper, but afraid they couldn't get a can of food or fuel, hoarding cans of food just because somebody played the media right. You all have heard about the movie To Kill a Mockingbird. Well, I was going to do a play on that in one of my thumbnails. Killing a Mockingbird, which would be a play on that famous movie. Because that's what's happening. That's what's going on right now with every interview like this gentleman that just gave to Tucker Carlson. The Mockingbird, you know who, media is being destroyed. That video I showed a brief 10 seconds last night of one of the CNN clowns asking a group in the town, how many people want to stop Putin in Ukraine? Raise your hands. Nobody raised their hands. Well, that interview went on longer. And they were saying, hey, this war's because they're trying to cover up all the money, all the dirty deeds. And hey, they aired it, at least that. Now they did say, oh, well, those people were just, conservatives and with a bunch of crazy ideas they get in their heads. Hey, but at least they aired the truth. Even said something ignorant like, well, the things they were saying were break our fact check machine. Yeah, your fact check machine. So, but hey, at least CNN viewers heard that what's going on in Ukraine is being drug out, egged on, and encouraged to hide criminal activity. That's the bottom line. Yeah, Mr. T is going to be on tomorrow. He's going to a state fair tomorrow. And hold on, I heard something. But word on the street is that everybody's got to keep their eyes open. Because, there may be troublemakers. There may be troublemakers in that group. It's not like we haven't had troublemakers in past groups. I just got to see what's making that noise. See if the coast's clear. I'm gonna start doing my broadcast from the underground bunker in the future. I just got to wait for the satellites to get in the right position and I get a good reception. But I'll go to the underground bunker when I got to do some when things get hairy. But anyway, yeah. So anybody who's got friends going to that thing, they got to keep their antennas up because there are going to be agitators at some point. Let's see. I'm just seeing the chats. Good news is coming. That's right, Gary. They did go crazy over toilet paper, Melinda. Yeah, Mr. General Kellogg. Yeah. Yeah, I've got that in my studio, what Kellogg said about what Pence was saying. And shortly afterwards, Pence pretty much admitted, well, it would have gone back to the legislatures. Oh, yeah, I remember that was down there. Slidell, Louisiana, New Orleans, Lake Charles, Louisiana, all that stuff was destroyed. So the one thing that I was going to talk about that I didn't get to in the past, Yes, we know I am. Yes, we know the military is the only way. But I'll tell you what, it doesn't have to be with in a combative manner. The military was the only way in New Orleans, in Slidell, and Lake Charles, Louisiana, all Mobile, when everything was tore up down there in the Gulf. The military was the only way civil stability was kept, but they participated in by assisting. They were helping, but the bottom line is they were the final authority down there, not anybody else. But they didn't wear it on their sleeves, and they didn't act like a bunch of jackboots. They helped the people with MREs, setting up little mobile medical units, all kinds of stuff. And that may be very well what we'll be seeing if things go sideways. It will be to assist. Assist with what? If the internet goes down, oh my gosh, 2 days before the election, it was the Russians did it. The Russians shut down the internet. Oh, we're gonna have to delay the election. Oh no, we don't. No, we don't. We've got the National Guard. They're trained for that. We can all do paper just like we did for 200 years, 150 years. We're ready for that. We'll help. You know, that is how the military can be involved. They've got all the infrastructure, everything that is needed for transporting food, fuel, ballots, everything. Generators, all the stuff that's needed to set up stuff to make sure an election runs smoothly. But it would be, hey, we're here to help, not here to take over the government. We're here to help. We're here to referee this and to manage this. So even if they do an internet shutdown, we can still. You're elderly and you can't drive, but you want to vote. Here's the number you call. We'll come get you. Yeah, you fill this out, and we'll watch it. We'll count it. Everything. So what if the internet's down? See what I'm saying, folks? That might be what the setup is. Just remember another thing, purple fingers. Purple fingers? Yeah, purple fingers over in Iraq. A war-torn country. The green zone getting bombed every day. They still had an election. We're not going to have purple fingers. But what I'm saying is, internet shutdowns, whatever they throw. Hey, it may be Project Bluebeam. We're in a state of emergency because we're fighting the aliens, and we had to call off the election. Oh, well, the military can take care of those aliens. They're not going to fall for it, but they'll try it. They'll try the fear. They'll try to get people to fight over stuff like toilet paper or do whatever to disrupt. And that's when the phrase "the military is the only way" comes into play to restore order and assist people, not to take over. And people say, oh, Posse Comitatus Act, there has to be a declaration of war. There has to be this, there has to be that. Oh, no. Not for the National Guard. They don't fall under the Posse Comitatus Act. They can operate within the on U.S. soil without there being a state of war, even though we're in a state of war. The Marines don't fall under the Posse Comitatus Act. And most of you all probably know, but a lot of people don't know, that may come to the video later, is that the U.S. Coast Guard doesn't fall under the Posse Comitatus Act. And wow, that plays a big role in when we were listening to this gentleman talking about his experience at J6. I don't know if you all caught it, but he made a reference to military intelligence. When he was talking about General Milley had intel that there were people going to harm Capitol Police officers. They had a code name for them. The Palace Guard, how to take them out. Things that this person person who was in charge of the Capitol Police didn't even know that information was flying around. But then he said, intelligence services, this is a paraphrase, that 50% of the intelligence services are MI. And Tucker Carlson said, oh, really? Yeah. And then they kept talking. And you know Tucker Carlson, right? He wants clarification. He before he moves on to another point, he makes sure he understands and his audience understands what's being said before he moves on. Unlike Sean Hannity, who always interrupts, and a lot of other people that interrupt, Tucker Carlson, for the most part, wants to elicit information from his guests. So when he made that statement about military intelligence, in a rare moment, Tucker said, oh, really? Oh, and then start talking about something else. So I believe that was a little seed for people who are interested in what we're interested in. It was a little seed. And Adam Schiff tried to suppress information gathered by the military. You remember that? But he said suppress information illegally gathered by the military. Well, if 50% of the intelligence services are run by military intelligence, and you have the branches that I just mentioned, the National Guard, the Marines, and the Coast Guard, also for a brief period of time through the midterm elections, who was not under the Posse Comitatus Act was Space Force. They can gather information, not now Space Force, but the other things that I mentioned, and they can share it with anybody they feel that has a clearance, the classified clearance, and that has a need to protect the nation. Oh, something going on in California with, you went to the hospital this morning. My, Christina. Hi, Reba. You're lurking. Ha, 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 ha. Hi, Doug. That's right. We have our own National Guard for a reason. And they've got intelligence services. They say, well, we're doing criminal investigations. We take things down to Quantico for the FBI to look at. Oh, really? Quantico? Quantico's Marine base, main base for the Marines. They let the FBI use their stuff. Oh my gosh, yeah. Outlandish. There's a lot of stuff going on that's disgusting. But anyway, so that and a lot of other things he said are going to be obvious. And what's obvious to us and going to be obvious to many of our friends who have been doubters or have not been paying attention is how he was treated, how the Capitol Police was treated, is that it seemed like a setup, that Nancy Pelosi made herself off limits, okay? How Mark Milley had that information about clear and present dangers or threats and did not communicate it to this gentleman who was the chief, and they fired him. They lied to fire him. So he's got a big payday waiting for him, and I'm concerned for his safety. But I feel that with the information he's putting out, I think it's timed. If he would have been saying this stuff much earlier, he might have been on the list of, I believe it was 5 Capitol Police officers that committed suicide. And we really haven't even gotten into that. As I mentioned, things that are coming into the public consciousness are going to be about those Capitol Police officers committing suicide. And also 9 out of the 12 New York City police officers that saw what was on Anthony Weiner's laptop. 9 out of 12. These things are going to start coming out. I mean, well, they're out. They're out. It's just not being covered. But as Mr. T said, we'll start to, this nation can start to heal when the news starts doing its job. And I was encouraged with that little CNN report. I was encouraged, even though they made a weak attempt to paint those people out as out of touch with reality, they still put out stuff we know are true. But I tell you, I was watching Jay Sekulow, and I haven't seen Bobcat in a while, but he mentioned that he'd be a good person to either be a guest on his show or have him be a guest on my show. I told him my show's too much of a little peanut operation for somebody like him to be involved in. But Jay Sekulow is the one who set Jack in place, smacked Jack around during the IRS scandal when Lois Lerner was targeting conservative groups, and they lumped them all into Tea Party. But even though they weren't all Tea Party, anybody that was conservative, and that includes religious organizations, was sicking the IRS on them. Jack Smith was in on that in a prominent role. And Jay Sekulow, in his legal group, I think they also did that ad that I played the other night that was talking about when is it okay, when did it become okay to discriminate against white people. So I like listening to him, and I would like to pick his brain and discuss with him the possible legal ramifications of a lot of these attorneys that are going on YouTube and just blasting out terrible descriptions, twisting reality, cheerleading for this group. Because I tell you, my thoughts on the matter, we've got a Marxist infiltration that's been going on for many, many years. ever since at least the Roosevelt administration, as far as it getting into the presidency. It was way before that, as we know, with the Titanic, with the enactment of an income tax and the creation of the Federal Reserve. That's when they really made inroads and had some tools to work with. It's taken them about 100 years, but they made a lot of money during that 100 years and gained a lot of power. They nibble, they do it incrementally. But what they're doing, and Mr. T has put it out there in a way that most people can understand, an administrative state. They've gotten where they have gotten philosophical control, a Marxist philosophy into enough people that by the Marxist philosophy are in positions of power. And they started that through the universities, pumping out attorneys. What politician is not an attorney? What member of the House or Senate is not an attorney? Which presidents have not been attorneys? What prosecutor is not an attorney? What we're dealing with and have been dealing with is a prosecutor insurrection. They started it off in earnest with Nixon. I can go into that in greater detail, but the bottom line is Richard Nixon never broke into anything. Richard Nixon didn't order anything to be done. Richard Nixon didn't even know the people that did it. What happened was some operative came in and let him know what was going on and said, if word gets out about this, it could damage your presidency. So Nixon was like, oh gosh, I don't want that. And it was downhill from there. Then the guy ratted him out. James Dean. So anyway, but the bottom line is they menaced and threatened him out of office, and they started with his Vice President Spiro Agnew over a $10,000 tax dispute, $10,000 tax dispute. And now you have Biden and Hunter Biden dealing with tens of millions of dollars, and nobody's batting an eye. So they've gotten control of the legal system, basically. What judge hadn't been an attorney? You think about it, everybody in a position of influence, power, and public trust on a federal level and in every state, everybody we're having problems with being corrupt or manipulating the system, they've all been attorneys. Or they get overrun, overwhelmed, and march to the beat of attorneys. So when I sit here and look at these videos, and some of them I've shown the thumbnails of, and I'll be showing some more in the future, where it's celebratory, and they take these defeats like what happened when they lost on a gag order. Twice. They wanted it Monday. They got put off to Friday. Both times they got shot down. But they're celebrating. They're putting pictures of Trump when he's sweaty on the golf course, or got his mouth open or something. And they fill the whole screen up with the most unflattering picture. And they say, we're going to get him Friday. The judges, no nonsense. And I'm just wondering what ethical ramifications, not only ethical, but criminal. At some point you're walking a fine line. Are you slandering? Are you libeling? Or are you exaggerating? Are you taking a valid point and exaggerating it? Or are you creating vitriol? And what's the ramifications of that? There has to be some manner there has to be some mechanism that puts a stop to that kind of sensationalism or outright lies. What Sekulow was talking about was novel legal theories, that these charges he described and showed paperwork that Jack Smith's crowd admits are novel legal theories. Well, there has to be some rule instituted that they don't try these legal experiments at the expense of a president of the United States or a potential president of the United States. No, that's thrown out. You come back with a stare decisis actual crime, just like stare decisis is a legal term they rely on. Precedent is things they rely on when making decisions. Not something somebody dreamed up in their, as Rudy Giuliani said, their TDS infected head. There needs to be a law where if it is something that is not memorialized by statute or precedent, adjudicated by precedent, if it then it doesn't exist. It's political crap, and you can't sit there and tell the world you're going to put somebody like Donald Trump in jeopardy, being in jail for 500 freaking years over your novel legal theory. But they've taken over whatever percentage of our legal system, of the Bar Association. All of them are lawyers. And I told a friend of mine a long time ago, the House of Representatives, none of them should have law degrees. We've got millions and millions of people in this country. We got 470 people. All of them are lawyers, or 95% of them are lawyers. Lawyers are officers of the court. Isn't that a conflict between the checks and balances? The judiciary branch is a check and balance on the executive. Also on the legislature. The legislature is a check and balance on the other two. They all check and balance each other. Well, who the hell checks and balances things for the common person? Not one branch of our government puts a balance on the administrative state. They're all attorneys. The attorneys have taken over the administrative bureaucratic state, and they're putting the desires of the philosophy that's been inculcated into our legal profession as the supreme law of the land instead of the Constitution. Nobody is looking out for Joe Schmo. who does not have a law degree. And that was supposed to be the purpose of the House of Representatives, closest to the people. How many lawyers are you close to? It costs $50 to say hello and $200 to say goodbye. To a lawyer, that's no representative of common people. Oh my goodness. Camperman, Lone Wolf, and Nikki. No, it's got, wait a minute, Nikki B. Look, I got it mixed up. That was last night. Nikki B, thank you so much for going to buy me a coffee, Nikki, and help us sponsor tonight's program. I appreciate it. You didn't have to do that, honey. You do so much for me. Everybody needs a chill pill, Kathy says. Bushgate, Obamagate, Bidengate to follow. It's all going to come dumping out, just like kicking over a porta potty. It's just going to stink, and it's going to be everywhere, and people won't be able to ignore it. Oh, I saw somebody said they had watched a show about, here it is. Cindy said there was a comedy album made of the Watergate break-in, Lily Tomlin and other comedians. You still haven't bought it in the 70s. That's cool. Yeah, well, they took out a president, a vice president, then the president, and put in their own people. That's right. No experimental justice on anyone. Monkey Works talking about whether they started disclosing that to the people during the Bush administration, that they could influence hurricanes, create rain, and all that kind of stuff. Hi, Ivana. How are you doing? Tubala. So it's like when the movie back in the 1940s about Abraham Lincoln, and he was picking a jury, and he got one guy up there. Guy had a beard and a beat up old hat and suspenders, older man, and Lincoln said, being on a jury, you've got to meet certain standards. And the guy said, yeah, I know. And he said, have you ever been known to cuss? And the guy sitting on the stand, he said, yeah, I have cussed. I've cussed a lot. He said, have you ever gambled? Are you a gambler? And all the other people in the courtroom are looking at him. He said, yeah, I do. I do gamble. He said, well, how about drinking? Do you drink liquor, hard liquor? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Have you got so drunk before you passed out? Yes, I have. Have you ever taken the Lord's name in vain? Everybody leans forward. The guy said, yes, I have. And the courtroom goes, he says, so you gamble? No. Then he said one more thing. He said, have you ever lied? Have you ever told a lie? And the guy said, yes, I have. I have lied. I've lied. He had his hat crumpled up. He's looking down the ground. So Lincoln said, so you're drunk. You're a liar. You gamble. You cuss. You take the Lord's name in vain. He said, yes, I do all those. I did all those things. He says, Your Honor, I want this man to be on the jury. And the courtroom gasped. And the judge said, "Why in the world do you want this man on your jury with all the things he just told you?" And Lincoln turned around and said, "Because he's honest." And you don't get that with a lot of politicians and lawyers. So we need more people like the drinking, gambling, cussing, crumpled hat, honest man. So that's why I say it needs to be looked at as far as our legislature, as far as a lot of things in our government. If they're going to take an oath to the bar, if they're going to be part of the judicial branch, then maybe they don't need to be in the other branches. Trump's not an attorney, and he's been one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. Reagan was not an attorney. Bill Clinton was. Barack Obama was. George Bush was. So, I don't know, folks. What do you think of that little story? An honest man. So, anyway, but you could see how a group of people with evil intentions who don't like the idea of liberty and democracy, democratic republic, could say, how can we tear this place down? Well, you infiltrate the legal system. The other thing where we got weak, where we dropped the ball, and as common folk that had been given the illusion of control over our own government, we didn't even see it happen. When we took away the state legislature's right to choose senators, that's how Lincoln did the debates with Stephen Douglas, the Lincoln-Douglas debates. It's wonderful reading if you get a chance to look it up, about the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Douglas was called the Little Giant. He looked like a little cannonball, and he, orator and everything else. He even held Lincoln's hat for him during Lincoln's inauguration. But Lincoln was trying to get in to be a senator. And Douglas was his competitor. And the state legislature picked senators back then. So they had to go around and do their debates. And the people would communicate with their representatives, which one did they like, Douglas or Lincoln? And the representative of their district had to pay attention to what the people were saying and pick the senator, or they would be out. They're closest to the people, or used to be. Now, right around the same time of the IRS, the income tax amendment was when they stripped the state legislatures of the ability to pick senators and made it direct elections. Well, on the face, it sounds wonderful. Oh, the people get to pick their senators? Well, guess what? The bad guys knew. All they had to do was corrupt or bribe 51 people instead of 470 or whatever the number is. That's all they had to do. And that's how you end up getting these 50-year career senators or more, like Feinstein, like Biden, Strom Thurmond being there till he's 100. And all. That's how you get that. So, these are the things we got to look at. Doing away with some things that they have, as far as our country's history is concerned, are, quote, novel, like senators running for office without having to answer to the legislature. But in reality, for 100 and some odd years, that's not the way it was. That direct election, but they make it seem like it's been there forever, and that if you try to change it back, you're screwing up something that's been practiced since the beginning of the republic, and that's not the truth. It's the exact opposite. Whenever you screw with the Constitution, you know they're messing with one of the greatest documents created by the human mind, as far as self-governance. And they screwed with it. And they thought about it with a communist mind. And all they had to do was go around and get the legal profession to start having a Marxist view and anti-God view. They're too smart to believe in God, don't you know? They're too smart for that. And they get installed in prosecutorial positions all around the country. Of course, all through our Congress, the judiciary. But you get them in Secretary of State. Okay, look at all the troubles they're having or are having in Michigan and Arizona. Oh, you got dismissed because you like The Godfather. Too blasé. Whoops. You have a doctor's note not to get picked for a jury. Well, I tell you, there one day where you live, Kathy, there may be a Kyle Rittenhouse that'll need you, because if good people with good mind, honest hearts don't go on juries, they're going to be left to the evil ones. So anyway, folks, I'm going to go a little bit longer here because I'm just going to bring up a point that I noticed with this gentleman talking about J6. You know, I shy away from the numbers game, right? But I remember at the beginning of his talk, he was telling Tucker Carlson that his police put up with HE double hockey sticks, he said, for 81 minutes. 81 minutes. Or 80 minutes. And he said it was pure hell. People were he said they were getting the hell kicked out of them, and people were lying to him, not wanting to give him help, and this kind of stuff. Later on in the conversation, he said he got word that approval was made to bring federal assistance in, namely the National Guard. He said 71 minutes later. Why do I bring that up? I'll tell you why. There has to be some kind of communications between the agitators that never got arrested, Ray Epps, and there's another guy they got on tape too who was openly agitating and never got picked up, right? You know, there's way more than that. The window breakers. How did they clear out of there? How did they know to stop and disperse and leave 9 minutes after the okay was given for National Guard? For an hour and 10 minutes, they were raising holy hell. And according to what this gentleman was saying, once they got approval to use federal forces, within 10 minutes, the whole thing quieted down. They all ran. They're going to get those communications. They're going to get those. They already have those communications. I'll put it that way. Matt Gaetz, it's another thing I better bring up because I got it in my thumbnail, was talking about giving Trump immunity to testify before Congress. He's floating that out there. I don't know if he's doing it to elicit a response to goose the prosecutors and judges to do something. I don't know. But can you imagine if Trump is given immunity to testify in front of Congress and puts out the PEDS, Presidential Emergency Action Declarations, or I think I said documents last night. What if he comes out and puts out, testifies to stuff they took from him in Mar-a-Lago that they want to keep a secret? Is the only reason they don't want him declassifying stuff. Well, they're trying to set this trial for January 2nd. And I read that comment from Trump a day after New Year's Day. And they're trying to shove this thing through and not give his attorneys or him a chance to prepare. And in their briefs, they even compared the trial time of the first bomber at the World Trade Center. They compared this case, Jack Smith's crew compared this case to the first guy that bombed, or first two guys, I think they caught, that bombed the World Trade Center. They're comparing that, trying to get it into people's minds that what Trump supposedly did was that bad. And they were going to want to go on the same trial schedule. But hey, wait a second, I'll get back on point. What if they do have it in January? Wouldn't that make the Super Bowl look like a puppy show? Remember that saying? So, but as far as when this trial is going to be, what if it's January of instead of 2024? What if it's January 2025? I don't know. But there's going to come a point the Super Bowl will look like a puppy show. Remember that, folks. Oh my gosh, cameraman. You've done your jury duty. Jerry Lee. He knows how to get out of it. Oh, they took you out for the death penalty, Diane said. Tubala, I saw that. He said that Tubala says, I wish and wanted to know why Tucker didn't ask the chief why the guards removed the gates to let people in. Yeah, he did make a mention, though, that he watched a video where Ray EPPS was standing next to a barricade and then whispered something to a cohort, and then a cohort started moving the barricades. And where Ray EPPS was telling the Capitol Police, "Oh, these guys are okay. They're with us. Don't. They're not your enemy." Thank you, Gary. I just went by the seat of my pants. Gary thinks there will be no trial. If they give him immunity, but see, we got to take a look at the historical and psychological effects. I think Trump wants to be in court. I think he wants to shove evidence under everybody's nose. It's too obvious. All the stuff that he's got, how can they put him on trial without him putting that stuff out there? And if Matt Gaetz gives him immunity to testify, and you've got a certain heavy percentage, not more than 50%, but say 35, 38, 40%, somewhere in there, thinking it is a trick to get Trump out of trouble. If Matt Gaetz gives him immunity to testify, Trump may say, I don't need immunity from anybody. Immunity from what? I haven't done anything wrong. We can go to trial, and we'll go to trial in a manner that's fair for everybody to present evidence. Now, this business that Adam Schiff is pushing to have Trump's trial televised, it may just be he wants it televised because he thinks it's going to happen quick. It's going to be a quick hit job where they get to Trump has in the future a gag order on him where all they can do is berate Trump on national television. He can't respond. Maybe that's why he's doing it. I don't know. But I'm hoping that it sets a precedent that we get to see federal trials. I know we'll get to see military trials. Okay? There's nothing to prohibit that. The military will decide what they broadcast and what they don't, and when. But as far as federal trials go, there has to be very certain parameters before that's ever allowed. But what if they set a precedent with Trump? Then we get to see the stuff when it goes down, non-military criminal activity being prosecuted. Hollywood can stay on strike. Okay? All the daytime TV people can stay on strike for writing stories. We won't need soap operas. We won't need morning shows. We won't need comedy shows. We won't need nothing for months because we're going to have some entertainment when we're watching people have the truth laid out and they get paid their just desserts. The greatest show on earth will be coming up. Yeah, Karen said hit that like button. So, okay, folks. I've got a lot more to go over, and this won't get uploaded to Rumble if I go too long. So last night's I went quite a bit over an hour. So I gotta manually upload that, folks. But we'll see. Hi, Double Up. How you doing, Annette? So, anyway, I will be going live. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe so you know when I go live, and also hit the notification bell. I always forget to say that. That way, they'll notify you when you go live. When I go live, and hit the like button for me. Helps the video get around. And I appreciate everybody. And Nikki, thank you for helping sponsor tonight's show on Buy Me a Coffee. And I thank everybody else who's helped me out with Buy Me a Coffee in the past. I got a link in this description if anybody wants to help the channel out. And I will be going live probably Saturdays. I have not been going live. So anyway, like I said, hit the notification bell after you subscribe and you'll know when I go live. And you all take care of yourself. Thank you for spending your precious time with me. And I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.